Well, welcome, Jackie, relationship mindset coach. I'm so excited that you're here. We've had a lovely chat so far, and I'm sure that is only going to continue as we get to know each other a little bit better and specifically like what it is that you do. I would love to start with just an introduction of tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and even how you came to be doing what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm so thrilled to be here, Carly. Thank you. You have this beautiful energy
Oh, well, thank you.
that I just am drawn to. And I love everything about what you're doing and the message that you're providing. So to be here with you is a gift for me.
Well, thank you. I'm choosing to receive that straight into my heart. So thank you for that. That's amazing. Uh,
So I do work as a relationship mindset coach. And wow, how many words can I add into things? My name of my business is Inspired Journey Consulting.
mm,
Typing out my email is like, really, why can't I just shorten things? But
I resonate.
what does that really mean? Art. What does that really mean, though? So, our relationship to ourselves is the base of everything.
Mm,
But our relationship to others and to life is what we prioritize most of the time.
mm,
And it's really what shows up for us and what we think about. And we might not think about what's my relationship to life, but what we are thinking about is how am I feeling in my job? Why am I not getting promoted?
mm,
I'm being treated unfairly. I don't understand what's happening.
mm,
I have been looked over in these roles that I want. I haven't found love yet, and I'm feeling yucky about that.
mm,
I am in a relationship and it could be better. I am in a relationship and it's really happy and I'm feeling mediocre.
mhm,
So, all of these things happen around us and it happens to impact who we are, how we show up.
yeah.
So, my job is to really get in there with you. And I like to quiet the self doubt.
Mm,
So, for me, the root is self doubt.
mm,
I call it the self doubt monster.
mm,
And what happens is that we all have this negative noise that's going on in our heads. And whether we admit it or not, it's always there.
mm,
And oftentimes we're just moving so quickly or we're shutting out so many things that we don't notice what's going on. We push it away, we push it down. Many people don't like to feel the feels. And I know from firsthand experience what happens when you do that. And so I spent decades not feeling the feels
yeah.
and pushing it all down.
Yeah.
And it led me into a really deep depression.
Mm,
And it was riddled with panic attacks, with anxiety, with paranoia, with complex post traumatic stress disorder, with all of those things I didn't realize was happening until I ended up in therapy.
mm,
But it was debilitating.
yeah.
Like I could not walk down the street comfortably. I had such severe anxiety and paranoia. I would go to work come home, I would take care of my dog. She was my saving grace. And then I would have a glass of red wine, maybe two, and a couple of pretzels for dinner. I didn't eat during the day. I think I got a naked juice or an Odwalla or something on my way to work, and I'd have water. And that was all that I could stomach eating because my anxiety was so high.
Mm.
And I was also in a financial position that was so tough that it was pay rent or buy food. So I paid rent.
Mm.
And I wasn't telling anyone what was happening, and I wasn't talking, and I was just hanging on.
Yeah. Wow.
And I just know how far down you can go when you're not proactive.
Yeah. Which no shame if you're not,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like how many of us do wake up at rock bottom or whatever, like where we don't change until it gets so uncomfortable that you just can't stand it anymore. Like you're crawling out of your own skin, trying to crawl out of your own life, maybe even. And
Yeah.
that's when we are like, okay, maybe I need some help. Question mark, you know? That's definitely my story. And the details are different, but like, dude, I mean, I didn't change what I was doing, didn't recognize that it needed to change until it got very, 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 very dark, you know? So yeah, no shame to you or anybody else who's resonating with like, well, I guess I should be proactive. It's like we're all doing our best 100% of the time, and change is hard,
Oh, change is terrifying.
right?
Yeah. There are
Yeah.
some people who don't change what they eat for breakfast, lunch, or dinner,
Yeah.
right? Change is terrifying. Routine feels safe,
Right. Right.
feels very safe.
Even when it's a routine hell, it's still familiar. And that still
Yes.
beats out change a
That
lot of the time.
saying, the devil you know.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay in a familiar hell than move into an unfamiliar heaven.
Mhm.
Like that is so real, you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, just some space around like, why am I letting myself suffer like this? Well, it's your comfort zone essentially. And comfort zone is hard to break out of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I recognized, I still recognize, is sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. And even when you've done work, you've been through healing, you've gone through it. First of all, healing is a journey. There is no healed.
Totally agree.
And 3 depressions later, tell you that.
You're really getting a handle on the whole. There is no end
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
of
No,
this journey. Yeah, same.
no. I think it's this amazing thing that happens is your subconscious is like, oh, cool. You're good now with this. So now let's just bring out some new stuff
Yeah,
that we're going
I've
to.
been holding this for when you really get your shit together. And now, like, can we look at this thing that's really hard and painful? Okay, cool. Thanks.
You're ready now. We're good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, no, I was
Yeah.
going on vacation. What's happening?
Oh,
Um, so even with all of this, right? I've been on my healing journey for 22 years. And there's still times, just even last week, where I found myself so low and stuck.
mm,
And the biggest gift is always the courage to ask for help or to accept it
right.
when it comes your way.
Yeah.
And that first depression, that's what it taught me was to ask for help. I was scared to ask for any help. Now I love asking for help. But getting the support that I did, I have two different coaches, and one that I've been working with regularly, and one who said, I noticed something and I wanted to offer some help. And I said, yes. And I took the support. And during those conversations, they opened up new pathways for me that I had been dancing around,
Mm.
new opportunities for growth and change that I couldn't fully comprehend yet.
Yeah.
And what I'll tell you is we weren't on the call and they didn't say, Jackie, you've got these opportunities for change. We were on the call. And, one talked to me about me feeling worthy.
Mm.
And then on the next one, I talked about me not feeling worthy. And she gave me tools of how to make myself feel worthy
Yeah.
and also unpack some other things that were going on. And then it was those pieces that then I said, oh, wait, now I see what's happening.
Yeah.
I just think there's such a gift in these moments. And I'm honored to be able to provide that for my clients.
Yeah. Yeah. I love so many things about what you said. And I want to unpack a lot of it, going back to what you said at the very beginning of like, essentially we notice the discomfort in our surroundings, like our primary relationships, our job, our financial situation, but all of that is built on the foundation of your relationship with yourself. And so I wonder if we could go back to that and say a little bit more about how that relationship to yourself ends up projected onto these screens of work, marriage, or partner, or kids, or money, or whatever.
Absolutely. So if you're feeling good, you're feeling confident, you're out there doing the thing, and let's say, yes, you're an entrepreneur and you are faced with something that happens in your everyday, right? Somebody says no to your offer. That's just a thing that happened. But then what really happens, though, is the stories that we tell ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. This isn't working. Nobody wants this. Nobody trusts me. I'm a joke. People are laughing at me.
Mm.
I'm not going to be able to pay my bills.
Mm.
Maybe I need to go get a job. Everyone is right. Who is everyone, by the way? There might not be anybody saying anything, but this is what's happening. And
Right.
these are the messages we're telling ourselves. And so 2 seconds ago, we were confident. But then this negative noise, these saboteurs come out and impact us.
Mm.
So now our behavior changes. Are we going to make that offer again? Are we going to get distracted and try to retweak something that doesn't need to be tweaked? Tweaking always happens, but maybe it doesn't need to be tweaked today. Are we going to go look on LinkedIn for jobs? What's available? Maybe I need to go somewhere else. Oh God, I gotta build a resume. Can I build a resume? I haven't built a resume in so long, right? It just keeps going. And then you've got these circles. Then you're having a conversation with a friend of yours and they're like, how's business? Well, good. Uh, it's just I had this thing and nobody, it's good. It's good. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's coming together. It's good.
I'm laughing
And then you're
because I'm looking in a mirror of myself. Relatable. Okay. Yeah.
and then your friend's like, okay, like it's gonna be okay. But you know what? What about your industry that you left? Like, or what if you wait tables in the meantime? Or how about
Now they're fixing.
now they're fixing, and then you're questioning, maybe they're right. Oh my gosh, they don't think I'm good enough either. This is right. What I tell myself earlier, this is real. This is the evidence that it's real. This is a sign. Or are we searching for negative? We're searching for negative to support the story in our head.
Confirmation bias. Yes. Right.
So that's just one example of what we work on and how your relationship to yourself impacts everything else. So then you take that conversation with a friend. And then the next time that you're confident again, you're thinking, that friend doesn't support me. I'm not going to talk to them about this.
Mm.
I can't believe they don't support me. Right? Totally different argument happening. And it goes on and on.
Yeah.
And it changes how you're navigating the world.
And all of it is happening inside your mind,
Oh, yeah.
because like, does the friend support you or not? Like,
We,
what they did was just like what you said, like, if somebody didn't buy your offer, that's just a thing that happened. Your friend made suggestions, that's just a thing that happened.
mm-hmm,
What we make it mean of like, you could just as easily make it mean that they do support you. They
mm-hmm,
see that you're worried and they want you to feel better. And here they are trying to help you feel better. Like, that's supportive in a way if those are the only tools they have, is
right.
like, here, let me help give ideas. But like, oh, they're trying to get me to work so they don't believe in my business. Like, that's a story.
Yep.
That's not a fact. That's a story. And again, I'm like, have all my own shit rushing to the surface, which is perfect, right? Like, that's why we need a coach. That's why we need like a reflection from somebody else so we can start to see like what is reality and what is story. Hello, friends. Popping in here real quick to say thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us. There is plenty more juiciness in this conversation to come, including an offer that Jackie has for you at the end, so be sure you stick around. But in the meantime, I wanted to let you know, did you know that the easiest way to support this YouTube channel is by joining my mailing list? I know, so easy. And if you're already on the mailing list, go ahead and leave a like on this video because that also is super helpful for letting the algorithm know, hey, there's good stuff here. So if you could do those two things, join the mailing list, like the video, dude, you are killing it. And I so appreciate you being here. And now back to the video. That's why we need a coach. That's why we need like a reflection from somebody else so we can start to see like what is reality and what is story.
Yes. And some people, depending on the kind of person you are, you might take action from that, right? You might have a confrontation. You might cut off a friend. You might do those things, right? So there's that option. And that happens, I would say, a lot within romantic relationships because this is your person. So you've got to talk to your person. Your person has to know better. Your person has to do better. Or you could be someone a little more like myself who keeps it up here and then it just spirals and impacts everything else internally.
Right.
Right. So I might not be consciously blowing up the outside, but I am by subconsciously blowing up my inside.
Right. Right.
Because then it actually has evidence in the outside world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like explosion or implosion. Like it's gonna
Mm.
go one of the two places, and almost like how yours led to the deep depression. Like I think that's a really good indicator that you're imploding versus like all my relationships blew up this year. Like you're exploding, like,
Yes.
and it's not, one's not better than the other. And it's all
No.
helping to see like the story. The story that you're telling is the dysfunctional part, right? Not the events that are happening, like the meaning that we're making out of it. Mm,
And one thing I think is really important, and I loved how you mentioned not having shame for being proactive. Well, I want to put that lens on this right here too,
yes.
because there is no blame or fault in that mindset.
Yeah.
We are actually wired that way.
Yes.
And then life does its lifing, right? Its thing, the groundwater, the noise, the conditioning, all of the different verbiage for what happens to us, which is basically crap. Crap happens,
Yeah.
and the news happens, and all of that. Society happens. And it just digs in to that negative thought process and those roots.
Yeah.
So the work that we do, that I do with my clients, is creating new neural pathways,
Mm,
because it legit is wired to just be mean to yourself.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I'm sure that wasn't humanity's intention. It's just how things evolved. And that's why, you and I are here to do the work to create that positive change.
Yeah. Yeah. And for somebody who may not be super familiar, like when you say neural pathways and like wired, what exactly are you referring to there? Like
Yeah,
let's paint a picture of like what's actually happening, like biologically.
absolutely. So the neuroscience of it all.
Yes.
So as our brains evolved, the biggest part of our brain is the initial part, where it all started,
Yeah.
what's often referred to as the reptilian brain. It's the original, it's the OG,
The OG brain.
the
Yeah.
OG brain.
Great.
And, many people are familiar with the fight or flight reaction that lives in the amygdala. There's also the freeze and appease
Mm.
reactions. So those are the four: fight, flight, freeze, appease.
And a
And
piece
those,
sometimes called fawn.
yes,
Yes.
fawning.
Yes. A lot of people in this community are doing the fawning response, myself included. Like,
Mhm.
I think another word for people pleasing, it's
Yes.
just appease, acquiesce, get them
Mhm.
settled down so that you
Yes.
can feel settled down yourself. Yes.
Make them like me, keep them comfortable,
Right.
keep the peace.
Right. Peacekeepers. Owning
Yes.
authenticity is full of peacekeepers. Bless our hearts.
Yes.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
So all of those are living in the amygdala.
Mm. Mm.
And the default mode network, that's where the majority of our inner dialogue takes place. And that is located close to the amygdala.
Mm.
So you basically have the moderator of your life hanging out next to the panic button all day.
I don't think I've ever thought about that so clearly. So I'm so glad we're doing this. It's amazing. Oh, okay. The
So what
moderator
happened
of your life is hanging out next to the panic button all day long,
all day
like hovering over the panic button, like can
long?
press
Mhm.
it at a like split seconds notice.
Moments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Ah, again, just erasing the shame around anybody who's like, it's so hard to get over this. Of course. it's hardwired in your brain that you be
Yes,
this way. All of us, human condition. Mm,
exactly.
so good.
And then because of neuroplasticity, which is basically the brain's ability to create new neural pathways, right?
Hmm.
We can shift that automatic reaction. So if you think about, God, I hate this example, but I'm going to do it. Actually, no, I'm going to do one that suits me. I was about to do something about driving a car, but I hate those examples. Okay.
Right.
Let's say you're doing your makeup.
Okay.
It's the way you've been doing your makeup for years. You're just used to it. You just keep doing it. But you've learned a new technique that you're really interested in. Well, the more that you do that new technique, the more likely you are to go in that direction and do that from now
Mm,
on.
yeah.
Even if there's a moment where you're like, oh, you start this other way, you might go, oh, wait, no, no, no. I'm going to go the new way instead. I'm going to try this new technique.
Yeah.
I'm going to smoky eye instead.
Great. Yeah.
But it takes practice. So that's what happens in your brain. So with the work that we do, you might have that moment, old way, negative way, but then you recover quicker, right? It's all about the recover quicker. So then you go towards positive. And so these positive new neural pathways are actually taking you towards the prefrontal cortex, which is where it's the least developed part of our brain. It's the newest part,
Hmm.
evolution that came to us. And it's where the goodness really lives. It's where our calm lives, our wisdom, our great moments of joy. All of that lives in the prefrontal cortex. So
Mm,
we do work to get you there.
yeah.
And I like to look at it in two different ways, science and spiritual.
Great. Love it.
So by getting our body, our mind reprogrammed, rewired, that space of calm helps you to connect to your intuition.
Mm,
Right? So that wisdom that you're getting, that's where that lives. That helps you to listen and understand it better.
yeah.
So now, rather than the world just biting at you and you starting to just bite at yourself
Yeah.
and grumble all the time, you can hear clearly. You
Yeah.
can hear your guidance. You can make decisions that feel aligned with who you are and what you want.
Mm,
You can see these patterns of what's happening,
yeah.
those moments, those opportunities for growth.
Yes. Clarity. Like, and I'm just like, again, like never heard it put quite like that. And it's letting me have like an expanded awareness. So thank you for everything you're laying out here. You're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
But I'm having an epiphany because one of the questions that I've heard a lot in the spiritual community is like, how do you hear your intuition? You
Mm.
know, like, where is it? How do I find it? Like, do I even have intuition? And, you know, rather than share my epiphany, I would rather just like pose the question to you and like, let's go there. As far as you've laid down this foundation, right? If somebody either doesn't have a relationship with intuition already, or they want a better relationship, like a more reliable connection with their intuition, how does that foundation you've already given us, how does that allow us to expand our
Yeah.
intuition?
Wow, what a great question.
Such a good
So
conversation. It's so good. Oh,
I would say everyone has intuition,
agreed.
right? So when I talk about quieting the noise, quieting your self-doubt monster, that allows you to hear your intuition
Mm.
and it allows you to trust it.
Which are
So that's
two
a
different things.
yes,
And I
yes,
want to get into that
absolutely,
next because that's so good. Yeah.
absolutely. And that's a big thing that I do is how do you trust yourself? And your intuition is giving you all of the information that you need. It's just trusting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look at things in, like I said, two different ways, this scientific aspect and the spiritual side. So when it comes to modalities, pending what my client is interested in, I like to read their human design.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know that.
And it's a great understanding for me and how to best take care of them, but also how to teach them how to take care of themselves. And have you talked about human design here before?
Yes, but feel
Okay,
free to introduce it. And I'll even put a link in the description. If anybody hasn't pulled their
okay,
human design chart, you can go pull your human design chart for free. So, I mean, you
yes.
can dive into that world if you would like. And yeah, tell us a little bit about what human design is.
So human design is a synthesis of Eastern and Western astrology, the Chinese I Ching, Kabbalah tree of life, the Hindu chakra system, and quantum physics. And basically, you need all the information that you would need to get your astrological chart. And it is the design of who you're meant to be, really simply. What I like to use it for is an understanding of how to best take care of your energy, how to know when you're in balance or out of balance, right? And that's a really big distinction because we might say things like, I'm so frustrated that this is happening. I'm just living frustrated. Oh, just becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Well, what if instead of you feeling frustrated and being annoyed and etc., it's just a sign that you're out of balance?
Mm,
Okay, I'm frustrated. Cool. Let's recalibrate where I'm at.
hmm.
Because maybe you're saying yes to something where you really meant no.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to rest, how to make decisions that are best for you. So, for example, I have an emotional authority. So then that's the decision making process, the authority. And what that means is that I need to ride an emotional wave before I say yes or no to big decisions.
Hmm.
But what I've also learned in my life is it works for small ones too. And as an introvert, I use it for my socializing. I've got to wait at least 24 hours before I make a decision on an invitation.
Yeah.
Because if I say yes right away, in that next 24, 48 hours, I might be like, oh, do I really want to do this? Oh, no. Right. And then
Yeah.
if I go, the experience is not going to be that full yes.
Right. Then you're frustrated, you
Then I'm
know?
frustrated.
You acted against your authority and then you don't feel good. Like it's
Mhm.
not a mystery. And human design, right, it like demystifies what's actually happening here, you know?
Exactly.
And frustration being like the gauge on your gas tank in your car that says like, "Hey, you're a little low." You know?
Mhm.
Like maybe put some fuel in. Like that's not it's not a bad thing. It's not negative to be frustrated. It's just like, are you saying yes when you really want to say no? Because that's a recipe for not feeling good, you know?
Right.
And again, like in the owning authenticity community, that's like the whole freaking point. Like, say yes when you mean yes. say no when you mean no, and
Mm.
how do you actually do that? Like, and waiting, like if you have emotional authority, like that strategy of like practicing the line, I'll get back to you.
Yep.
Let me sleep on this. I'll let you know tomorrow. That's a power play to just give yourself that space to like figure out, is it even a yes or a no? And then it goes back to the whole same thing of intuition of like being able to hear it and being able to trust it are two different pieces. Yeah.
And as a business owner, what I'll tell you is when you make an offer, having that understanding of where that other person is coming from. Now, I don't know everybody's design, but to at least know that they might need something different. They might need that 24 hours like I need.
Yeah.
And I want them to feel the hell yes.
Right.
Right. Unlike so many strategies, I spent my career before this in sales and marketing, so many strategies of the assumptive close. I loved the assumptive close. Oh, so you're
What
signing. Well, here's the contract.
what does that mean? Assumptive close?
Oh, assuming somebody's already doing business with you.
Oh,
So, um, or like the choice, do I send you the contract today or tomorrow? Right? Like those kind of things of like, oh, we're just closing this business right now.
I see. I
And it's
see. You're not
like
even
this,
asking
no,
them
no,
if they want
it's
it or
this
not.
subtle pressure, or because the direct close is the most uncomfortable, right? Are we doing this or not? Right? It's terrifying. He wants to know. So, all those other ways are terrifying. And yet I use those strategies for years. But as a business owner, knowing human design so well, that's not how I want to be.
Mm,
It's not how I want to treat the people and invite people in to work
yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
So it's a thought process on what they're giving and how I'm giving them and receiving their information as well with honor and respect.
Yeah.
There's other pieces of it, like you talk about self-doubt. We're not designed to doubt ourselves. Okay, I just contradicted myself. Our brains are, but our human design, our charts aren't about self-doubt.
Mm.
It's us being out of balance.
Self-doubt is about us being out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's why it
Yeah.
feels so terrible when we get into those loops of I'm not good enough, they don't like me, I shouldn't have done this, I should have done this, like
Mhm.
whatever it sounds like. Mm,
Exactly. And
mm,
so, you know, human design for me, it's this great map, this great understanding. And what I love is that the basis of it really is self-love and self-worth. And I'm
mm.
all about that,
Yeah.
right? You love yourself, you value yourself, you have that true value, and it all kind of flows in line.
Yeah.
But then this piece that we spoke to, this neuroscience, the modality itself that I utilize is under positive and study of positive intelligence. And for me, what I've seen is the positive intelligence route, the technique is the how to get to the depth of your design, to those highest possible outcomes of who you're meant to be.
Okay. Say a little bit more about it's the how.
Yeah. It's the healing modality, perhaps. It's if you're out of balance, how do you get yourself back? Yes, there are many ways we can ask ourselves questions. Um, there's different techniques that we can do, but this gives you that long lasting change
Mm, yeah.
and often subconscious, and it's done in this really beautiful way. So I have a system that I've created from my 22 years on this journey of healing and studying and classes and books and testing and 15 consecutive years of therapy, all of that.
Yeah.
Right. And I call the system magic because that's really what it feels like.
Yeah.
And it starts with mindfulness. And so positive intelligence, the actual practice of it, the term in the industry is mental fitness, but fitness for me is a trigger word, so I don't use that. It really is, though, mindfulness in all sorts of ways. Mindfulness without closing your eyes. Mindfulness in a
Mm.
way that relates to your senses,
Mm.
most pragmatically,
Mhm.
right? Because mindfulness is a very big word
Yeah.
and it can be used in many contexts that are
Yeah.
important. But in this particular sense, it's a physical practice that reconnects you, creates new neural pathways, brings you back into your body,
Yeah.
and that creates the change. So that's kind of where we start.
Mm.
For example, one of my favorites, I like tactile. So you can put your hands up and you can just rub your fingertips gently up and down,
Yeah.
fingertips and palm of the other hand. And that feeling, just noticing that sensation, just even 10 seconds, makes the difference.
Yeah. Brings you back into the now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it changes your reaction. It gives you a moment of pause, perhaps, which is very powerful.
Yeah.
It rebuilds neural pathways. It brings you into balance so that you can then be the highest optimal expression of your design.
Right. Like hear your wisdom, hear your intuition, have a moment of clarity. Yeah. Like, and that to me feels like the key then to what we were talking about with like hearing your intuition. Like the first step to following it is you have to hear what it says. And so this mindfulness coming back into the now pragmatic process, like almost like getting out of autopilot. Like we haven't used that word, but that moderator of your life that lives next to the panic button that
Yep.
is just reacting out of like, I perceive a threat. Let me bite back at that. Let me lash out at that. That auto
Mm-hmm.
reaction, like giving yourself those 10 seconds of feeling the lovely feeling of your fingertips on your palm, like
Mm-hmm.
just even that is a pattern disruption that now you're not autopilot firing back on that reaction. You're at least having the space to choose. Like, do I
Mm-hmm.
want to send that text? Do I want to say this thing? Do I want to whatever it is? Or is there deeper wisdom inside my design, my who I really am? Like what would the larger version of me think about this situation? Giving yourself that space, like so key. And I think for most people, like that question of why can't I hear my intuition? It's that right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's how much space are you giving it? Well, what do you mean? I'm busy. I don't have time for that. And it's like, well, it's going to
I'm
be
sorry, did I
very
roll my eyes?
difficult,
Yeah.
dude. But that's my reaction too, like, and again, no shame in that because we spend time on things that we value. And I think this conversation, like, we each clearly value being able to hear our own wisdom, operating from our intuition, our design, that place of inherent worthiness where self doubt is not normal. So if I'm in self doubt, if I'm in frustration, if I'm in any of these places, then I need space. I need to open up some space so that I can hear what really wants to come through in this moment. And, I think coaches having conversations or people in general who value these things having conversations about why it's so valuable to give yourself that space. Like there is a tidal wave of spiritual awakening or like self-care revolution or like whatever you want to call it, that like more and more and more people are stepping into their individual power. And what does that mean? Giving yourself this space, right? not just running and 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 doing and doing and doing and doing. Like there's got to be a break in there somewhere. It's like, well, yeah, but I go on vacation. It's like, I'm talking every day, every hour. Like, well, that sounds a lot. Who has time for that? And it's like, who has time to live a life that sucks for you? Like that's the alternative is like, again, you're frustrated, you're overlooked, the life looks good on paper and it's totally hollow inside,
Ah,
like there's nothing worse than that, in my own opinion. And that is based on my own lived experiences. So, I
same.
mean, and it makes sense. I've devoted my whole thing to like owning your authenticity, like giving yourself space to figure out who that even is. So you can
Mhm.
follow that person to create the life that actually feels magical to you. And I love that your model is called magic. So this first piece of it feels so important. And again, like if anybody took only one thing away from this episode, like I hope it's that. I hope it's like even 10 seconds of space can change an outcome, to like come
Exactly.
off the autopilot reaction.
And noticing that these things are a practice.
Thank you.
You know,
Yes.
we get into this mindset. I feel like maybe in our culture, just this quick information that we constantly get, it's like, well, oh, I read about, I know that. They didn't tell me anything I didn't know. Sure. And are you practicing it?
Yeah. Like
Right?
integration piece, knowing it and integrating it, two very
Two
different things.
very different things.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we really work on in sessions is like, we keep this practice going,
Yeah.
right? The next aspect is we talk about articulating your feelings.
Mm.
And I personally, I have my own rules of journaling, which is basically throw out the rules.
Yeah.
But
Love it.
what's going on is that you've got all of this happening in your head and you need to get it out of there.
Yeah.
So whether it's 2 minutes or 2 hours, if you're typing it on the computer and closing the document and never saving it, if you're writing it down and tearing up a piece of paper, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just get it out of your head. Because then once you do, you start to get some clarity, right? And that's
Yeah.
that's the next part, this gaining insight, right? You're
Yeah.
giving yourself insight. You're saying, oh,
Right.
wait, there it is. There was that doubt again. There was this negativity happening.
Yeah.
This is story. This is fact. You're able to start to discern.
Yeah.
And then as you talked about integrating, then we're integrating new beliefs. We're doing the self-love, your self-worth, your value, all of that is coming in because now you're starting to see it and feel it and recognize that you're worthy of more.
Yeah.
And then lastly, similar to what you have mentioned thus far, it's choosing the life you desire.
Yeah.
And, it keeps circling, right? You are constantly going through this because it is a practice. And as I was mentioning my struggle last week, I put myself back into it and I was like, oh, wow, I need to go through again. Hold on, let me look at my steps.
Hmm. Right. Let me
Let's
take my
do this.
medicine
Yeah.
again. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Where are we? What do I want?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that clarity is so beautiful. And
Yeah.
that reclaiming of the life that you desire.
Yeah.
And is it the same as the life that you're living? And like you said, we have a choice. So what are you choosing?
Yeah. Which, dude, that's another hard pill to swallow for folks. I'm not choosing this. I would never choose this. not ending something, not putting a
Mhm.
stop to something, not asking for help, not taking action.
Mhm.
These are all choices. And I say that with as much gentleness as I can bring into my voice because being at choice is another critical piece for building the life of your dreams. Like building the life that you actually want to live. You have to believe and take responsibility that you're choosing the life you're already living because then you have the power to change it.
Indecision is a decision.
Fact. Yeah. 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 And it might be as simple as, saying out loud, like articulating, I don't know how to change it. I need help figuring out how to change it. I mean, it sounds like Jackie and I both have had moments where, right, like I need help. That's my only next step is like I need somebody to help me even see how I'm choosing this,
Yep.
And like that's a step, a really important one. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no shame in any of that. I love how we're like taking shame out of the equation every step along the way. That's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was um, a client of mine who could not get out of her own mind and had all of these elements coming at her from business, from finances, from relationship. And it was this outward pushing of like everything else is an issue. The relationship is the issue. The business is the issue. The finances are the issue. Yeah, I mean, they're all issues, sure. Where are you in this? And again, you talked about responsibility. It's not blame, it's owning your power in that.
Yeah.
You have,
Responsibility is power.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. You have the chance here to say, I know all of this is happening, and I am going to make changes for me that will then create a ripple effect. And if they are not creating the ripple that I want, I will make another choice. And maybe that choice is to stay in this situation that I don't like, but it's a choice I'm making. And this is my why behind making it, right? Not because I have to, I'm stuck, people are expecting this of me.
Right.
None of those things. It's because I'm choosing it because I love this person and I'm putting in the time and effort that makes sense for me today. Or I am passionate about this and I want to see it through and I have trust and faith, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But owning that choice.
Yeah. That's
So
such a
doing
different
that,
energy.
yeah, it makes everything different.
Yeah.
And watching her transform out of all of this around me to what's changing within me. And now, holy cow, I'm saying no to things. I'm setting boundaries. Didn't even, couldn't fathom a boundary when we started working together.
Mm-mm.
She took herself on a random shopping trip just for joy. And I don't even know if she bought anything, but it was just trying on clothes and enjoying it.
Yeah.
That, you know, when we started working together, she would have never. That time, that hour didn't feel like it was hers.
Mm.
it is amazing what can happen when we start to quiet all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So we've got mindfulness and articulate your feelings.
Mhm.
And so what's the next one?
Gaining insight.
Gaining insight. Okay. I'm loving this acronym, by the way.
Thank you.
And it's only five. That's so concise. I mean, kudos on your conciseness.
I appreciate that. Integrating new beliefs is the I,
Gaining
and
insight,
then
gaining beliefs,
choosing the life you desire.
choosing a life. That's so elegant. Amazing. Oh, magic. Mm. And it like, you know, it is that simple. And I'll just say, like, none of that is easy. And so, again, like having support and having somebody that can help hold you through that is like just part of the process. Like, I mean, it's been years that I've been in ongoing coaching, like switching between different ones as I grow and have different needs or different expansions that I'm taking on. But like, it's just like a part of my normal now at this point that, we see ourselves not clearly at all. And it is so helpful to have somebody reflect back that question of like, where are you in all of this? You know, like, what would it feel like for you to be choosing this on purpose in a world where you are choosing on purpose? Would you choose this one? Would you make a different choice? Like being asked those kinds of questions, like, well, like I was telling you before we started, like I had my first coaching one-on-one with a brand new coach, and it was life-changing. And it was amazing at how little she actually said compared
Mm.
to like how much space she held open for me to like drop in, get my insight from the inside, say it out loud to her. And then essentially she repeated it back to me with like, how does it feel to hear that? And a whole nother layer would open up. And I would tell
Mm.
her and she would repeat it back to me and like a whole nother layer. And so like we do truly have all the answers inside of ourselves, but I think it's like borderline arrogant to think that like you can do it by yourself. Like the humility of like the role that the reflector plays, the coach, the mirror, the friend, the therapist, like whoever it is, like it is so, so valuable and so important. And that's another block that I hear a lot of like, well, why can't I just do this by myself? And it's like, you probably can do a lot by yourself. And would it be even easier and faster and probably a lot less jagged inside of you to have a loving space holder? Yes. That's
Mhm.
their job. That's a skill. It's a gift. And whether you take advantage of that or not is up to you. Yeah.
And the other one that I hear is, well, why can't I just talk to my friends?
Ooh, yeah, good one. Why can't we just talk to our friends?
Like we talked about earlier, are your friends giving you what you need?
Mm,
Do they know what you need? Plus, we're not mind readers, but we're allowing you the space. I remember on one of my first group coaching calls, what was so surprising to all the attendees, they'd never been involved in anything like this before. And the way that we ran it, the way that I initiated it was when you speak, nobody else can speak. Nobody asks questions, nobody interrupts, nobody gives their advice.
yeah.
We go around, there's the question, everybody answers it. And you just listen and receive. And what they said is, I have never been in a space where somebody just listens to me. I'm always interrupted. Someone changes the subject, someone tries to make a joke, someone tries to give me advice. They didn't even hear everything I was saying.
Mm.
This is a special way to let you be seen, heard, and understood.
Yeah.
And it feels so simple sometimes just to say those words, but it is very deep. It is creating a safe space. And if we really spent time around what safety means for each of us, you'd know and start to understand what it looks like for yourself, and that maybe you need a little more safety. And how do you create that? And it starts by understanding what it looks like for you as
Yeah.
an individual and
Yeah.
allowing the space on your own to even get there.
Yeah. I wonder, again, I personally value safe spaces so much that I pay good money to be able to sit in safe spaces on a
Mhm.
regular basis. But I wonder for others who may not, like, they're like, what does that even mean? Safe space. Like, what does it mean for a space to be safe?
Yeah. So I think that example, right, of the group coaching clients that came in and had never not been interrupted,
Yeah.
that didn't feel judged. It was a no shame zone.
Yeah.
No shame, no blame, no judgment, simply there to hear and receive and support.
Mm.
And being able to have others understand you, like, wow, I feel that way too. Who would have ever thought? When we are speaking to people that know us, the friends, the family, that conversation, there's a part of our being that doesn't want to look bad.
Mm.
And our negative noise comes out, and we kind of give these parameters like, this is happening. I mean, it's fine, but, or we don't tell the full truth
Mm.
because we're scared of how we might be perceived, or we tell a story and someone goes to fix it when we really just needed somebody to listen and see us
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe ask that next question, like you mentioned in your experience, that makes you go a little deeper and it opens up a whole new door.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. I love how you explain safe spaces. And I recognize myself in the behaviors of like what makes a space not safe, like the interruptions, the fixing, the advice, the making light of it, like making a joke. That one's not so much me, but my brothers and I'm all the rest of them. So like yeah, we're all doing it sometimes. And I wonder if you could comment, like again, in this whole like, let's take the shame out of it. Why do people do that? Why do they react that way when we share
Hmm.
ourselves with them?
I think there's fear.
Mhm.
It comes back to that fight, flight, freeze piece.
Mm,
So if we were to compare those, your fighting is fixing or devil's advocate.
mm,
Um, the flight is changing the subject, maybe even the joke.
mhm.
Right.
Getting off of
Um,
it.
yeah,
Mm, wow.
freezing. I've actually visualized the freeze, seeing people be like, you know, get uncomfortable by sharing truth.
Yeah.
And then the appease be really simple. Oh, you're so right. You're so right. And then, hopping on the train of whatever it was that we were likely complaining about
Mm,
when it comes down to it. And that doesn't necessarily help either. I might be right. And there's a difference between you're so right and blah, 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 versus I feel you.
yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. Mm,
What do you need? How can I be there for you? Maybe simple hug. There's so many ways that we can be better friends and partners, but that's also the downside of not having outside support.
yeah. Dude, I feel like we could do like a whole episode on how to be a better friend, how to be a better partner, like from our own vantage point, right? Like, how do we embody those things to show up in a better way, more supportive way? But also, when it is us seeking external support, the more tender it is, the more skilled space holder I take it to, like if it's super tender and I know somebody interrupts, gets distracted, gets up and walks away, like changes the subject and I gotta go and hangs up the phone, like I don't take my tender stuff to them, you know? And so, like, there is a responsibility for us to, like, who are you expecting to fulfill that role of support for you? But there's also, like, I think inside of each of us, like, wanting to be as good of a friend as we can be, wanting to be as supportive of a partner as we can be. Um, so, yeah, I think there's room for all of it. But I love how you did that of like, take those not so great responses and put it into fight, flight, freeze, and appease. And that there is fear. There's like general lack of ability to be with our own discomfort that stops us from being with anybody else's, you know?
I mean, you think about that. If you don't want to face your own self doubt, you're not going to be comfortable with somebody else's,
Yeah. Yeah.
with holding space for it.
Right. You're going to want to make it stop. Make them
Mhm.
feel better right now. And is that for them? Because I think it's easy to be like, well, I just want them to feel better. It's like, right, but you want them to feel better because they're making you uncomfortable.
Yep.
You, yeah.
And one thing you mentioned that I really loved, because this comes up all the time in my home with my husband, but it is so prevalent, is a safe space for you when someone is on their phone while you're talking to them?
Not for me.
Me either.
Yeah.
I heard everything you said and repeats it back to me that I love you. That is not working. And
And no,
so,
dude, yes, yes. To even have a relationship like what you were saying, like a relationship with your own needs of safe space. Like for somebody else, they may be totally cool with that. they're like, well, as long as he can, he hears me and he's there and physically next to me, like that's all I need. And like, cool, that's great. But for somebody else, like, no, I need eye contact.
Mhm.
I need you like looking right here, like undivided attention. And again, that's where I need it so much I'm willing to pay for it.
Mhm.
I put myself in
Yeah.
those spots. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I've always had this saying of different friends for different things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this, you can't expect everything from one person. And then when it came to a romantic partner, I'm whole on my own, right? I don't need you, I choose you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, I can't expect everything from that one person.
Yeah.
So, taking count of what you really need. Why wouldn't you add in the support that you need that you're not getting
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
fully?
Well, and if somebody can't give it to you, it reminds me back to the example you used of like somebody saying no to your offer. Like if somebody
Mhm.
can't give you the kind of support that you need, that's just a thing that happened. And then what do you make it mean? Well, they don't love
Right.
me. I'm not important enough. Like we can go down the rabbit hole of story, or we can say, I need this and they can't provide it. So I'm getting it over here, either from this friend or a therapist or, whatever. But
Mhm.
like standing up for what you need and holding on to that, regardless of where you have to go to find it. Yeah.
And for the owning authenticity community
Mm-hmm.
who recognizes the power of your intuition,
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult to figure out the how, but just putting out that you need something, like you said, saying it out loud, writing it down, owning just that moment,
Yeah.
and then being ready to receive it.
Yeah.
My favorite quote is when you're ready to learn, a teacher appears.
It's so true for like everything.
Yeah. So saying, this is what I need, and then watch it happen.
Yeah. When you're ready to receive your need being fulfilled, somebody
Exactly.
shows up in front of you that can meet that
Right.
need, you know?
Right.
And again, it
No
goes
one
back
has
to,
fulfilled my $1 million need yet, but I will let you know.
are you ready to receive it? Like,
I am so ready.
dude, that would be another fun, like, conversation of like mentally being ready to receive something and physically being ready to receive something are two different things. Like, same as what we were talking about before of like mentally knowing it or like integrating it into your system. And like, what does that even mean, being ready to receive it? Like I feel like that's like a whole iceberg that would be so fun to talk about. Like, this went by so fast. That was already
I've loved it.
75 minutes.
I'm so great. This is amazing. I've
It
really
was
just had
so
a good
fun.
time talking with you.
I know. You are so good at explaining things, and I love the thoughtfulness like when you receive the question of like, where do I want to go? And then you're so good at like holding the thread of like,
Thank you.
yeah, just so good. I got so much out of this conversation, and I would love to have you back sometime if you're
I
into
would be
that.
honored.
Yeah, it
I
would
would
be
be
good.
honored.
We'll schedule it. We'll set it up. Is there anything else on your heart, on your mind that would
Hmm.
feel good to add as a cherry on top to this conversation for anybody who's still with us?
Hmm. I just want to double down on the fact that you have the ability to choose the life you desire. It starts with quieting yourself down.
Mm. And lastly, if people want to follow your work, where would they find you?
So I am most active on Instagram at Inspired Journey Consulting or on LinkedIn under Jackie Roby.
Okay.
And I do offer a complimentary magic moment session to start to understand the unique negative noise that happens for you and some tools in order to quiet it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we'll put links in the description. And anybody who's still here, I want a magic moment session. Do I? And I can
Yes.
book one? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Well, and I would even be willing to possibly record it and like share it as an example of like what the session is.
Love
Yeah, that would be really cool. Okay, very good. Well, check out the description for links to go find Jackie and potentially schedule your complimentary magic moment session. That sounds amazing. To understand the unique negative noise that happens for you. Tuning into that and making that conscious is a game changer. What a valuable thing to give away for free. That's amazing. So cool. Well, thank you, Jackie. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And everyone watching as well, you too. Take really, really good care of you. Create even just a little bit wider space for your beautiful self to take up. Maybe rub your fingertips on your palm a couple extra times today because you deserve to find your clarity and feel your wisdom and live the life you were designed to live.